Mississippi is poised to ban transgender athletes from competing in women's sports in schools and universities. The state legislature passed the so-called Mississippi Fairness Act earlier this week. Last night, the Republican governor, Tate Reeves, tweeted that he would sign the bill, writing, and I quote, "It's crazy we have to address this." Mississippi isn't the only state debating this issue. Idaho passed a bill banning transgender women from competing in women's sports last year. But a federal district court has suspended the law, and it's yet to be enacted. Across our nation, at least 26 states have now introduced similar bills, mostly in Republican-controlled state legislatures. Gabby Orr now, she's a national political correspondent for Politico and has a new article out today titled "GOP Seizes on Women's Sports as Unlikely Wedge Issue." Gabby, thanks for being here. I don't know why it's unlikely. Doesn't this fit a pattern? Keep the gaze down legislation in state after state in the Bush 43 years. That legislation got the right to the polls. Now it's transgender. Use the thing voters fear or don't understand to scare, inflame, divide, and inspire them to go to the polls. Nothing new here.
Well, it's definitely a tried and true tactic for the GOP, but it is interesting given the timing here because this didn't really happen in the 2020 presidential election. Former President Trump was urged by some of his advisors to talk about transgender issues, and he actually declined to do so, not thinking that it would help. And Karl Rove, one of the people behind that 2004 strategy that you mentioned, was advising him throughout the 2020 race. So the fact that it's now being brought up after the 2020 race has unfolded, I think speaks more to a Republican Party that is searching for ways to kind of overcome their failures in 2020, to sort of build a new coalition and find ways to regain suburban support that they hemorrhaged in crucial states like Georgia and Wisconsin and others. And, my sources who are pushing this issue behind the scenes, who want Republicans to talk about it, think that this could be something that resonates not just with non-ideological voters if it's framed as an equity issue, but also with the socially conservative base voters that the Republican Party needs to turn out.
But do you wonder if this might backfire? I mean, the country and the suburbs that you talk about seem to be moving in the direction of inclusion. Could moderates be turned off by this?
They absolutely could. And that's the risk that a lot of Republicans who are talking about this issue right now run, the more that they bring it into the fold. I mean, we've seen some of the most vocal voices talking about this in the GOP are Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ted Cruz. Those are not necessarily popular politicians with moderate voters, much less suburban women. And so it does run the risk of backfiring on the GOP at a time when we have really seen the country trend toward, supporting anti-discrimination laws, including Republicans. I mentioned a PRRI survey in this story that found that majorities of Republicans in 2020 actually supported anti-discrimination laws.
Very interesting. Gabby Orr, thank you. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.